Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday. Well, I hope that you had a really good weekend. You're well rested. You're getting on with your life and your day. I don't know. You did your Black Friday shopping and your Cyber Monday sort of stuff. I bought two things. Both of which are necessities, I think. One's a leaf blower because I really need it. The large ones. The other one that I'm trying out right now. I upgraded my Wi-Fi system and I realized the router that I had was not giving me the internet speeds that I was paying for. So, I've upgraded that. Now, I've run it. I've done a bunch of stuff. It's sitting in my office. But what I've done is I've decided for some reason, we'll see how it works today, that I'm going to be on the Wi-Fi instead of being wired in. I got a couple of reasons for that, predominantly because I can seamlessly transition between my laptop. When I'm on the Wi-Fi, I can transition between the laptop and the computer I'm using, the Mac Mini I'm using. So we'll see how it does. Let me know, you guys, if it gets pixelated or something like that. I just did a speed test. It looks good. I mean, it looks really, really good. But who knows? Maybe in between fluctuations and all that stuff. So with all that said, I hope you're ready. Again, go ahead, hit the like button, say hellos, because that's just a kind thing to do. You say hello to people. So that's important. Alexandria, how you doing? Thanks for being here, as always. Arame, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Fenton says, my favorite argument now is to show how God can break normativity at any point for any reason. This makes it impossible for us to use logic to know about him. Fenton, I want to know more about this argument. Can't say this is an argument that I've come across before, or maybe not in this form and the way you've articulated it. I was questioning whether I should drop a link, and you guys can tell me if I want to drop a link and have you guys call in, because I would rather have a conversation with people who are actually presenting these arguments to me, rather than me kind of sort of come up or do a search online and say, well, here's the 10 arguments against God's existence or something like that. So I will have you guys call in. I'll drop the link, and then Fenton, if you want to call in, kind of explain that more and the rigor of that, because I think that's a pretty decent question. What's up? How you doing? His will be done. Thanks for being here. Again, hit the like button, share the stream out. Thank you for being here, as always, as we get going on this Monday. And there's, stuff on the horizon, as always. Lots of things to get done this week on my end. Okay, we'll pin that. Is it buffering for anyone? Let me ask that question. If you're not on that Apple Intelligence thing, I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit. It's not based on extensive use, but it's so far so good. Okay, that's good to know. Excellent. So YouTube giving me a random error doesn't know what it's talking about. That's very good. Okay, Fenton, I'm gonna read through a couple of things here. You tell me whether I'm on the right track. Okay, and we'll go from there. And we're just gonna define some terms here. The definition of normativity, according to this, normativity refers to the idea of established rules, standards, or principles that guide behavior and judgment, often including moral norms. The argument, as it stands, I guess, is stated the following way. If God is truly omnipotent, could he, I guess, I don't know what it says, they, could he create a situation where he intentionally commits an act that is considered morally wrong according to our understanding of good and evil? Are you approaching this from kind of a moral, because this just sounds like the Euthyphro dilemma to me. But it seems to me that you're coming at it from a more logical perspective. So explain that to me. Are you saying, can God break the laws of logic or the rules of logic, like normativity in that sense? Are you talking about morality? So there's multiple ways I think you can approach this subject. I need more from you to know how I'm going to respond to this. Because, look, if it's the moral one, then we're talking Euthyphro dilemma. This isn't really new. I think the Christian has, when I say the Christian, I'm speaking about us collectively. I think the Christian worldview has actually given the defense against the Euthyphro dilemma, predominantly that the Euthyphro dilemma doesn't apply to the Christian conception of God, because God acts out of his nature. His nature is good. Therefore, all that he does is good. Nanology, what's up? How you doing? Yeah, this is a brilliant argument. Yeah, you definitely. Welcome to my channel. I don't think we've met before. If it's your first time here, it probably makes sense to listen before you speak, and then develop a friendship, maybe, before we throw around old, Facebook thread comments, which is a complete dumpster fire, or people jumping in my YouTube comment section and making senseless claims. I have dropped a link for people to call in. So you're more than welcome to call in, and if you want to argue for being a non-stamp collector, you can. So I'm gonna wait for Fenton to kind of give me more here. And again, the distinction I gave there was between the moral stuff. Again, that seems like the Euthyphro dilemma to me, unless I'm missing something. The logical one, I think I remember sitting through a paper at a conference a number of years ago, and the paper was on the Euthyphro dilemma, but from a logical perspective. So instead of moral categories, they put the logical categories. And I think the answer is very similar. There's probably very, very, very few theists, and Christian theists for that matter, who view logic as a sort of created thing. The stream's current bit rate is lower than the recommended bit rate. Let me see if I can change this. Okay, we'll mess with bitrate stuff. So I use normativity as the consistency of his creation here. Okay, so if he has the ability to break that consistency, we can't use a logic that assumes it. Why not? So here's my issue with this in regards to the logic of it. Say let's just say God breaks say God breaks. Sean, I'll get to you. Just hang on the line a little bit. Suppose like every once in a while God does a miracle. Miracles aren't things that are part of nature, and to assume that you can't trust anything else, I think, is an incorrect assumption. I think it's sort of a hasty assumption that shouldn't be there. Like, we can't trust anything now. There's probably more conservative, I guess, assumptions you can make, right? So I'm just not seeing if God can interject into creation and do certain things, so therefore we can't trust anything. That seems too much. Just logically, it doesn't follow that because God does it in some things, we can't trust anything. Doesn't make any sense. Sean, who's been on the channel, going to bring him on. Sean, what's up, brother? How you doing? Haven't talked to you for a while.
Fine, thanks. The picture I saw there of the video was like evolution or something. I thought you were going to talk about evolution. I just
auto-generated that, man. Yeah.
So maybe you could ask me questions about that, or you could ask me any question.
Yeah, I'm not here to ask questions. I guess I would say, what would you be? Well, look, that's a thumbnail I created like in 30 seconds, thanks to AI. That's what AI thinks atheists believe in. Yeah, I suppose my question to you would be, what would you say is the best argument you have for atheism, or maybe the best arguments?
For atheism.
So, okay, Sean, you're cutting off, man. I can't make out kind of what you're saying. You keep cutting off, brother.
Good question. There's probably many. I could probably ask AI that.
Well, I've asked AI. I have it listening in front of me. I can do that as well. But
yeah, sorry about
that. Nothing in this list in front of me is something I haven't heard. But I didn't ask AI what its best reasons for God's non-existence are. I'm asking Sean, who's a person.
Yeah, AI is probably better than me in this, but
Sean, you get the problem, right?
I'll try to
if I ask the AI what are the best arguments for God's existence, it's going to give me a similar list.
God's existence.
Correct.
Like,
just ask ChatGPT what the best.
But then you could say, okay, God created everything, but who created God? That's a stupid one, though.
Bro, yeah. Thank you. I'm not even going to say it. You said it yourself.
My internet's pretty bad. I need to do something about it. I'll leave and I'll come back. Okay.
Okay. Or you can if it's if it's in the comment section, you can write it up. But But think about it. Give me. Come on, like challenge me, bro. Like, don't tell me something like silly like that. I'm in the mood of
you're
being
talking about
challenged.
like, oh no, I was thinking like, no, but God, who created God? Like, so
God is an
God created the
uncreated
Big Bang,
being.
but then God is infinite.
No, God is an uncreated being. So to ask the question, who created God, is a senseless
He's
question.
infinite.
It's meaningless. He's uncreated. Like, I'm
So,
not even going to
so
use
he's
language
infinite.
of infinity. He's uncreated.
What does that mean?
That means God doesn't have a
He's not
creator.
infinite. Yeah, but what do you mean that he's not infinite? I mean, he'll last
No, I
forever,
didn't
doesn't
say he's
he?
not
And he was in the
infinite. I
past
said,
forever.
yeah, I didn't say he's not infinite. I said it's maybe easier for people to conceptualize that God is uncreated rather than using language like infinity. Even though I don't think those two things are contradictory to one another. God is uncreated. So to say who created God is a senseless
But he was in the
question.
past forever, and he's going to be in the future forever.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, like God doesn't have a beginning. He's beginningless. So again, that question can't apply to that, right? Like, it is, if I were to say something like, how tall is the smell of a rose? That's just categorically, those things don't coincide with one another. You can't ask questions of that sort, of those sorts of things. So to say, who created God is a senseless, meaningless, nonsensical question. Like, I hope you understand that.
Okay, so
like,
he's not
I hope
infinite
no
then.
atheist ever answers that. I hope no atheist ever asks that question, but I'm not holding my breath because I have a feeling they will.
Oh yeah, there's all sorts out there.
So here's what Sean, here's what I would say.
So God is
if I
going to be
believe,
infinite in the past and infinite in the future.
Hang on. If I believed in created deities, then asking that question would make sense, right? But I don't believe in created deities, so asking the question doesn't make sense. Now, when you get into questions like infinity, God's like in, infinity past or whatever, eternal, those categories, like philosophically and theologically, there's some nuances there. That's partly why I'm using language of creation rather than time. Partly because there's quite a bit of theologians and philosophers who believe that God is, prior to creation, God is timeless. They actually believe some believe that God is timeless currently, even after creation. So I want to stay away from using timed language, and I want to use language of creation. So if somebody says, who created God? I would say God is uncreated, which completely defeats the argument, by the way. Like, you wouldn't have anything else to say. The only thing you might want to, I'll help you out here. The only thing you could say in that situation is, well, why can't the universe be uncreated? And my response simply to that would be something like, the scientific data seems to suggest that the universe is created. So I'm going to go with that, number one. Number two, the universe has properties that would constitute or imply some kind of a contingent existence. So things like the universe is timed. That's one of the things. Like, there's time happening in the universe. Say energy, expansion of space, whatever. Like, we can just like go on. Or it's just the sort of thing that seems like it can't be eternal. And there's good arguments for that. And that's why I want to stay away from that, kind of the time conversation. But that's a really that's low-hanging fruit for me. That kind of a argument.
Yeah, the contingency argument, or is that the Muslim argument where what's that argument again?
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm
The
pretty
Muslims
sure.
made it up.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a Muslim or a Christian argument, considering that the person that's really well known for the contingency argument or the cosmological argument based on contingency is Leibniz. So I wouldn't say like any theist can use it. Any Christian can use it. Any Jew can use it. Any Muslim can use it. Any monotheistic sort of guy. Any deist can use it, in my opinion. So it's not necessarily particular to Christianity or Islam.
No, but like you can't go back for infinity or something. I forgot how it goes.
It's called the impossibility of an infinite regress.
Yeah, how does that work again?
Well, it depends whether we're talking about reasons for something, or we're talking about the time of it, like in regards to creation. So, who created God and who created that God and who created that God? Like you just keep going on. At one point or another, you're going to have to say, well, no, there's a unmoved mover. There's an uncreated creator. And then you move on. And this is essentially like, again, this predates Christian theology and Christian philosophy. And Plato comes up with the unmoved mover argument. And I think these are solid arguments for there at the very least being this general sense of God existing.
Well, the atheists could just say just infinity and beyond or something. Or they just don't know. Could say it's like infinity or like the universe. Like the universe just has no beginning and end. It just goes on forever.
Yeah, the problem is that that runs into a number of issues. One of them being the impossibility of an actual infinite. And the way this is argued for, and you'll see this if you've watched some of Dr. Craig's debates, he brings it up more than anybody else. But the concept is that we have arrived at today. If time in the past is infinitely long, then it would have been impossible for us to get to today, because if between 2 points there's an infinite amount of points, you can't get here, because the more you cross, the more there is to cross. Now, I would recommend this is some like I think heavier philosophy, but I would recommend you look up actual infinites or the impossibility of actual infinites. There's a number of kind of exercises you can partake in into realizing why the universe cannot be infinite in its past. We wouldn't be able to arrive to today. Okay, Sean, I'm going to say bye to you. I want to see if anybody else wants to jump on here, okay?
All right, bye.
Okay. Okay, folks. Hey, Jerome is maybe projecting here. I have no idea what he's talking about. He said, I sense a particular motive from you, Arthur. Okay. Tell me what it is. And then we'll see what's going on. Hey, Agape, how you doing? Valkin says, the best reason for atheism, the utter lack of evidence for any of the claims of these cultists. Curious how not a one of them can do what? Their Bible's promises to true followers of Jesus Christ, they are all frauds. My guy just unleashed on us some of the best arguments for atheism. Yep, I'm gonna give up being a Christian, bro, because of what you just said. Fantabulous. Christians are the stupid ones, and we don't know how to reason properly with people. And definitely, whatever you said in this comment section, which I still can't understand, yeah, keep doing that, bro. Let's see what it gets you. Hey, another reason is that there is no another reason. You didn't give a reason just right now, so there is no another reason. You haven't given us anything. Okay, you've just like vented. It was like vomit on the screen. Sheesh, man. Another reason is that these Christians can't agree on the most basic things in their many, many versions of the cult. Hey, by the way, you calling Christianity a cult is like, it like slides off of me. Like, I don't know whether you're trying to be offensive or whatever like that. Like, it doesn't, I don't care. Free will, predestination, who is saved, how someone is saved, how to interpret the Bible, what baptism does, and how to do it, what heaven and hell are. Okay. None of those things actually show that God doesn't exist. It just shows that there's a complexity in the conversation. That's it. Man, I got to catch up to your, like, this is partly why I wanted you guys to call in. That's why I dropped the link, so that it wouldn't be this. Like, bro, do you have this? Do you have this like written somewhere? You just copy paste it? Arthur, I would love to see you do an interview with Dr. Hugh Ross. Interesting. Okay. Taking requests if anybody would like to interview. There is no good reason. You're either convinced or not. Bro, these are coming from the atheists. You guys. Well, you know, it just came to me. It just came to me. Hey, man, I'm just asking you that you call in and then you say all the stuff that you're saying, because it like, if you're going to give me an argument, then we can deal with that argument. If you're going to do vomit commenting, which is like you throw up and smack it in, I'm not going to respond to it, because you're just like projecting. Like, give me an argument. Just give me, look, the title is, what are the best reasons for atheism? Like, and here I am. Like, hey, Fenton gave a good, did I not acknowledge Fenton's really good question? Did I not reason through it? Right? Did I not say, hey, man, that's cool. Okay, are we thinking about this logically? Are we thinking about this morally? Are we thinking about this when it comes to how he meant it in regards to the created order, like God intervening in the created order? How can we trust it? And I think I did a pretty decent job responding to it. He thanked me for the response. Like, why can't you guys learn how to have proper dialogues with Christians? Because here I am, sitting in my very comfy chair that one of my viewers bought me. Thank you very much. You know who you are. I was having all sorts of issues, and the screeching was annoying. Here I am. I'm enjoying, like, this sweater is nice. I look good on camera. I'm chilling, bro. Just send something my way, and then we'll deal with it. You know, we'll bounce it around, and we'll see. Oh, maybe it's a good argument. Maybe it's an argument I haven't thought about. Right? There we are. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you are a bad image of atheists out there that are actually intellectually honest atheists. So, like, why would I listen to anything you have to say as a contrary position to Christianity when you make a statement like this? Like, you have just given up all respect that would come your way in regards to anything you would produce to say, hey, here's why I think atheism is true. Like, it makes sense because of this. Now, I want to say that there's atheists in the chat. There's other atheists in the chat or agnostics in the chat. They completely disagree with this kind of nonsense. Yeah. So Julio, you know that this is not entirely true. Like quite often, I've realized that there are Christians who don't know how to have these conversations, right? Hey, Johnny, how you doing? And so one of the things I've tried to do on my channel is model what it looks like to have good dialogue and friendly conversations with people I disagree with. And so there's guys, I don't know if there's girls in this chat, who are atheists, have been on my channel for like 2 years, have had phenomenal conversations with me, respectful individuals. And there's Christians, and we try to create that. We try to create that kind of friendship. But if you're going to come in here and make a comment like the one that was just made, then my response is like, why should we listen to anything you have to say? You've already made up your mind. You're intellectually dishonest. And you don't want to follow. Like, here's my thing: is don't claim the intellectual high ground when you make comments like that. It's hilarious to me, and this is like kind of the it's the fakeness of it all, right? It's the fakeness of like, hey, look at us. We have the intellectual high ground. Christians are stupid. They don't know how to reason properly. They don't do the science. And then it's like, well, if there was 100% proof, I still wouldn't follow him. And I'm like, okay, cool, man. Thanks for telling the entire world on the internet how intellectually dishonest you are. So, yes, I moved on. I'm ex-Christian. I've read and studied the Bible. What is there to try to prove to you? I'm just asking for reasons why, like, what are the best reasons for atheism? Here, let me help you with your thinking, since you're an ex-Christian. Christianity can be false. And atheism be false as well. Do you understand that? Do you see those things? Yeah? So Christianity being false doesn't mean atheism. It just means Christianity is false. Let's just say Christianity is false. Let's say you're right. For you to immediately conclude atheism, not there. The other thing is, it seems to me that your question's not really about the data of Christianity being true, is that you just really don't like Jesus. Or the person of Jesus, or the character of Jesus, or how Jesus is portrayed in the Bible, or how God is portrayed in the Bible. Now, if you had called in, I could have a number of questions for you as to something like, on what grounds do you not like the deity you see before you? And what are the basis for those things? Like, I'd like to seriously hear you out on that, because it's interesting to me. This man called in. Why aren't the rest of the atheists calling in? Call in. I don't bite. Thank you, Jerome. Okay. How's that dishonest? It's intellectually dishonest because you don't care about data and evidence. That's how it is. I mean, do you know what intellectual dishonesty is? Intellectual dishonesty is, I don't care what the proofs are. I'm still going to hold to my grounds. That's what intellectual dishonesty is. Oh, Jerome. Hey, Jerome, have you ever been called a cultist before? You just got called a cultist. You cultists directly contradict each other, and not one of you can do what your Jesus promises to true believers. Per your own Bible, you are frauds. I'm an atheist, since not one theist can, I guess, prove that their God exists. Joshua, thank you, man. I appreciate that quite a bit. Thank you. Those are the comments that come in that I go, man, I got to keep doing what I'm doing. A good reason for atheism is how mental health care is dramatically more of a struggle with the added element of God's messages / lessons we have to analyze. I wondered if there's data on this, Fenton. Or you're just saying this because of kind of anecdotal, personal observations. Now, listen, I've been a Christian for about 20 years. Here's what I've seen. And I have seen people struggle with this in the church. Christians kind of get overwhelmed by, man, it's too much. Okay? Most of the time, I would say there's an underlying psychological issue going on there. But here's what I've seen more often, and this is anecdotal based on my own personal experience. What I have seen more often is individuals that are in deep despair and depression, so sort of at a loss of kind of purpose and meaning and stuff like that, find solace and comfort in the person of Jesus, in Christianity. They become kinder, happier, more joyful individuals. So I haven't seen, like if I were to weigh them, I haven't seen kind of the mental health aspect of Christians kind of saying like, oh man, there's all this stuff, like is God giving me messages all the time and this and that. I just think if they're doing that, they're probably doing theology wrong. And there's maybe an underlying assumption that's there that shouldn't be there, or there are expectations that I don't think the Bible necessarily puts out. And yeah, again, I don't know where you're coming at it from when it comes to that. That's just my experience. So thank you, Tony. I appreciate that, man. I still struggle to debate atheists that bring up old earth. Why? Just tell them, fine, the earth is old. Like you can even tell like atheists, cool, I'll give you evolution too. Like, why is that a debating point there, Richie? Like here's what I mean here, right? The earth being old, evolution being the case, in no way shows that God didn't exist. Like there's absolutely no logical syllogism where you can put those things in to the premises and then conclude, therefore there is no God. It's like there's none. It doesn't exist. Oh, this is okay. So Alexandra says, as someone who has been in an actual cult, wow. I don't know if I knew this, Alexandria. It's sad some people will assume Christianity as a whole as a cult. Well, look, Alexandra, he thinks he's offending us. Like he thinks like I'm sitting there, like we're sitting there as Christians going, oh, why? Because it's a cult. I'm going to defend us not being a cult. I'm like, cool, we're a cult. Go for it. I know why. By the way, I know that kind of reasoning. I know where it's coming from. And it's like, cool, make your point, make an argument. Can you say anything of substance? Or you're just going to say this sort of stuff, like just throw up on the screen with words. And so far I haven't heard anything. I don't mind giving away ground to people. As a matter of fact, you can say that's even the debate tactic to a certain extent. But I just think it's my own generosity. And also, I know what are the essential stuff that I think I need to hold on to versus the non-essential stuff that I think will lead us into areas of conversation that are unhelpful to what I'm trying to accomplish in that given conversation. So part of the reason why I do what I do, Tony said keep doing it, so I will, is I want to showcase for you guys that I don't need to die on every single hill that I believe in. Like I have all these hills that I believe in, let's just say, and I don't need to die on every single one of them. I'm willing to give up maybe like 80% of those hills. and not die on them. And maybe there's a couple, maybe there's 2 or 3 of them where, yes, I will die on those. And I will give up ground for the sake of conversations. So, okay, my knowledge, thank you for this, Fenton. My knowledge of the data around this is in theistic addiction recovery and how it can be shown to be only 5 to 8% effective. Sober Truth is a good book for this info. Sober Truth, let me check that out. Sober Truth. Thank you for this, man. The author is Lance. Here's, without looking at the book, one of the things I would say is there's an aspect of like, here's what Christianity teaches. Let's just take Christianity for an example. Here's what Christianity teaches. These are the stands. And then people's experience of Christianity. And I wonder when we do research like this, we distinguish between those things. Because I know plenty of people. Again, I'm saying this as someone who's been involved in ministry for the past 20 years. There are unstable people in the church. There have been. I've seen them. I've counseled them. Some of them have recovered from it. Some of them kind of still struggle with their stuff. Some of them have left. And again, that's why I said there are underlying kind of psychological issues rather than just assuming, right? Like, so it's a correlation causation kind of distinction. Is the belief in God the cause of the mental illness stuff? Or is it not? Is there some kind of a correlation that's happening? That's, again, just thinking on my feet here. Sober Truth by Lance. Man, I need to stop buying books. But, you know, I'll look into this. Amazon Books. Subtitle to the book, Debunking the Bad Science Behind 12-Step Programs and the Rehab Industry. Okay? Okay, I'll check this out. It doesn't seem like it's, and I don't necessarily disagree with this. I would like face value. The whole rehab aspect of stuff of like creating deities and stuff like that, essentially, which they've taken Christian ideas and then secularized them. And I think that's problematic. So I might even agree with the authors here and their kind of contention is, what are they doing? And maybe I might disagree for different reasons. I might disagree for stuff like, hey, you can't, make random stuff your God. That's problematic. But I've just saved that up there. So thank you, Fenton. Okay, what I struggle with is Genesis in relation to old earth. I don't know why. Have you Richie, are you just like completely, there's no way you're going to take on an old earth model? Like, why can't you believe in something like the stuff Hugh Ross believes in? Someone who's just mentioned. Hey, Joseph, I don't know how long we'll be on, man. We've been on for 45 minutes. I don't know. Maybe we'll be on for another hour. Is it just for Christians? No, it's not just for Christians. It's for Christians and atheists. I just want to know what are some people's best arguments for atheism? Like, it's better for me to hear it from the atheist, no? The idea of creation is essential. But again, you can believe in creation like with an old earth perspective, my brother. That's what I'm saying. Like, why do you not want to believe that? Or at least give the ground and say, yeah, the earth is old and God created it like that, in that way. If you admit you don't have knowledge, then you're not worth debating. I mean, that seems contradictory, doesn't it? If you admit you don't have knowledge, you know that you don't have knowledge. Kind of problematic. I can relate on the book buying thing. I know Tony can relate on that. For the time being, I do have like a really, really awesome discounts that expires in about a month. So I might buy books by the end of the year because they're like 50% off, man. So look, it's pointless. What you said makes it absolutely pointless for anything else you're going to say from this point on. Do you understand why? You believe in the old earth. You struggle to argue for it. Yeah, you're going to have to dig into the material on that, man. And I wouldn't even, like, why? You can literally just say, I am agnostic on the subject of how God created the universe. Meaning you don't have a position on it. And say, I think, like, so here's my stance. Okay, so I'll argue for it. So I think Genesis, not all of Genesis, obviously. Say Genesis 1 and 2. 1 to 11. I don't care. I'll just say 1 and 2. If I said Genesis 1 and 2 is a polemic against ancient Near Eastern polytheism, and I don't think it's meant to be a descriptive model of how God created the universe. And somebody says, well, how did God create the universe? And I say something like, I don't know, I'm agnostic on the subject. I think he just did. And I think the scientific data shows that he did. And I think you can make a good philosophical and scientific case that God created the universe. If I can get someone to agree on that God created the universe, and then withhold judgment on how he did it, but that he did it, you still can have really good progress in your conversations. And if somebody wants to believe in theistic evolution, let's just say, for me, I don't think that's an issue. It's not one of the hills that I'm willing to die on. He said, yeah, I know it's pointless to debate and apologize. No. I'm not going to let you run from that. It's pointless because you made probably the most ignorant and, well, I'll just keep it there, one of the most ignorant comments that's ever been made on my channel. And this channel's been around for a while. Because you thought you were being clever. Even if there was 100% proof, I still wouldn't believe. Enough said. So the point that I love how you're projecting. The problem's not me. I have a link drop. You can call in. We can have this conversation face to face or voice to face. The problem is that you completely threw out reason for whatever moral high ground you want to take against the God of the Bible, which it seems to me you're trying to take that. And we can have a conversation about that. But don't try to project on me and say something like, oh, it's pointless to debate an apologist. You want to debate me? Call in, debate me. I will have a blast debating you, trust me. I have a smile on my face, show great love towards you. I've had very friendly debates, not a formal debate, right? I'm not sure whether I'm a fan of formal debates on these subjects, but I've had really, really friendly conversations. I'm still friends with the people I've had these conversations with. Some of them have started off the way you just started off, coming at me sideways. And that's fine. Come at me sideways. We can have a blast if you call in. Trust me. Call in and it will name all the endless excuses. Hey, thank you. Very nice. Hit the like button, folks. What point did I strawman? Man, I wish you called in. Like, seriously. You don't have to believe in something if there's evidence for it. Oh, yeah, I agree. You don't have to believe in it if by believing you mean, committing your life to it. But don't argue that there's no evidence for it. Like you just said, there's evidence for it, but you don't have to believe in it. Sure, man. You can be rebellious towards facts all you want. There's no question about that. But don't claim to be an atheist. Like, you realize that's not an atheist position. You can't say I'm an atheist, but there's evidence for this. But I don't want to believe it. It's like, okay, great. You're not an atheist. And again, it's not even enough to say I'm an atheist because Christianity's false. That's not an argument. That doesn't get you anywhere. I would accept the reality of your God's existence if it showed up, but I still wouldn't worship it. Look, man, that's fine. I'm not strawmanning your argument. Your mind is made up on the subject. I love the way you like going about this. Like, just say for what it is. You don't like God. You don't like the concept of God. You don't like God for whatever reason. I mean, if you want to call in, we can have a whole psychological discussion on the reason for this stuff. Again, I think I'm a pretty decent listener. If you want to hear, I got 2 of them. Yeah, I'm not surprised that you wouldn't worship God, even if God were to give you the evidence. And I think God has given you the evidence, and there's a reason you're not worshiping, even though you're saying you're an ex-Christian, whatever that means. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want to know what your standards are. What are your standards? I said this earlier, and you said I strawman your position. I haven't strawmanned anything. You think you have good moral grounds against God as an atheist, which I don't think you are, but sure, I'll give you that. I'll grant you your atheism. I want to know what your standards are. Just tell me your standards, man. What are the standards that you have that you just like God doesn't go along with them? Like, tell us. Hey, Sean, I don't know what this means. You're copying the Lines Atheist channel arguments. I don't know what that means. And I don't even know if you're talking to me or not. Yeah. It's, and then you tell me I strawman you. Come on, man. You guys are hilarious. Hey, Fenton, why can't more people be like you, man? Like, seriously. The problem of evil is often seen. Hey, nanology, this is the way you present the case. Just like learn from fellow atheists, which again, I don't think you're an atheist, but just learn. The problem of evil is often seen as a moral complaint. It's more so about what God would do given his attributes and how successful he is at his stated goals. Yeah, I don't, Fenton, I agree with you. That is the way the problem of evil is articulated. I don't see Christian, like, In what way have the individuals that you've seen not granted this? That the person who's coming up with the problem of evil, let's say, at least in some forms, is trying to show, the goal is to show there's an inconsistency in what the Christian is claiming about God and his character versus the way reality is, which results in a number of conclusions, one of which being God doesn't exist. Like I think that is the way the problem of evil is portrayed and understood. No, God could have a morally sufficient reason why he allows suffering. Is this the best? No, don't do that. If God knows about all our suffering, which he does, yes, he is, he's all-knowing, cares about our suffering, he does, can do something about our suffering, he's all-powerful, he does, then there shouldn't be any suffering. Wrong. That's just a wrong conclusion. God can have morally sufficient reasons why he would allow suffering. Now, let me educate you on something here, okay? Yeah, there are new arguments. Greek philosopher Epicurus. I have a degree in philosophy, so welcome to the club. You can quote a philosopher. Let me... Man, welcome to my channel, bro. You haven't been on a channel like this. I'm telling you. People who are right now been on this channel, I am so enjoying myself, Jerome. So absolutely, Jerome, enjoying myself. People who've been on this channel for a long time know this about me. This is the best channel there is. This is partly why more modern versions, thank you, Epicurus, but, some of this stuff's changed. More modern versions of this argument would come from a perspective of things like gratuitous evil, seemingly gratuitous evil. Right? Because a very simple response to that is God sees that there is suppose that suffering is the sort of thing where it necessarily produces morally upright character in people in such a way where nothing else would develop that kind of moral uprightness. So therefore, it's necessary to human flourishing in all the right ways. So therefore, now God has a morally sufficient reason for why he allows for suffering in the world. Your argument has just been demolished in the form that it was just presented to me. But there's no point in arguing with apologists because we just give excuses, man. It's not like we understand philosophy or anything. Hey, by the way, in analogy, you didn't tell me what your standards are. Because you probably don't have any. You don't like the God of the Bible. And you have standards as to why you don't like the God of the Bible. Still haven't told me what those standards are. Bro, please, go read a philosophy book, honestly. Avon Planigus defeated that form of the problem of evil argument. This is just philosophical. It's like popular knowledge amongst philosophers that argument doesn't fly anymore. It just really doesn't. There's my guy. This is the man right here, man. This is the man right here. This is Petros, everybody, who runs Apologia Center Armenia. He's been producing some phenomenal content in Armenian, so that's my guy. That's my protege. I don't think free will could solve the problem of evil if we could show God has to do it that way. from what I get from God's attributes, the path is not necessary for him. Maybe when it might be. I mean, I'm sympathetic towards a position, and I've written on this, but not publicly. I mean, I've written it for classes. But I'm sympathetic towards a position that essentially the only way for people to experientially know who God is for who he really is for there to be evil and suffering in the world and sin. And I've argued for that point. And I think there's pretty good ways to articulate that. Hey, do you see this? You see what you're doing, man? Yeah, keep it coming all day. You bury your ancient desert tribal god under layers of modern philosophy. You are the one who quoted Epicurus, an ancient philosopher, I might add. Like, bro, here this was funny. You guys who think you're intellectually superior, some of you atheists who think you're intellectually superior to Christians, you come at us with like, I got this guy in my pocket and that guy in my pocket, right? Like, you throw it at us. And then we do the jujitsu stuff. Bam, flip you over. And then you go, oh, you guys are hiding behind philosophy. Like, go away, dude. Like, you can't handle this. Seriously. I'm having way too much fun. You are low-hanging fruit for me. I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with you. There's way more challenging atheists out there that I regularly talk. As a matter of fact, there's way more challenging Christians who give more credible arguments for atheism than you are doing right now. See, I don't know whether it's your first time on my channel. It seems like it's your first time on my channel. You don't know me. I'm one of the best guys to have an actual discourse on in the apologetics community, I would say. Like, it'd be really fun talking to me. And that comes from a lot of people. There's good, credible evidence that I am a very fun person to talk to. But you came at me sideways, and you continue going at me sideways. So if you keep doing the sideways stuff, some moves are going to be done, and you're going to be on the mat, on your back. There's way better ways of having this conversation with me than the way you're having them right now. Somebody, I just lost a comment here. Disclaimer, here we go. Disclaimer, that I've been a lifelong atheist, but the best possible argument I could make against God's existence, this is really good. This is excellent that you can be a lifelong believer and try to formulate arguments against God's existence. I recommend people do this. I recommend Christians do this. If you can understand what the opposition's best arguments are, and guess what? They're not what nanology is telling us. Definitely not, because those are very, very lame arguments. But try to articulate the best forms of these arguments. And if you can understand them and articulate them well and actually have a response to them, you're doing good. So, but the best possible argument I could make against God's existence is that us humans have flawed reasoning, and any God we can imagine could be subject to our flawed reasoning. This is a way better argument than the way the nanology is coming at us. So, maybe so. Maybe my response to something like this, you're not impressed. I'm sure you're not impressed, because you've earlier told us that whatever objective reasons were to be in front of you, you'd still reject it. So thank you. Thank you for your intellectual honesty. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate Jack giving us a reminder here. Appreciate it. Hey, JP, what's going on? So let's take that argument. We have flawed reasoning. And so therefore our flawed reasoning would have incorrect or flawed assumptions about God. Even if there were a God, we wouldn't be sure. Maybe so. here's one thing that's very interesting about almost all religions. I think all religions. I'm pretty confident I can say all religions. Every religion claims to have divine revelation, which bypasses our flawed reasoning. Again, this is not the truth of the matter. We're not saying, therefore, it's true. What I'm trying to say is, in religious discourse, there is the claim that we're not just coming up with this stuff. The divine has told us these things. And so, therefore, it bypasses our limited, flawed reasoning. And then you do that, you do your compare and contrast and your reasoning through it. But that's the way it's generally gone about. Arthur, thoughts on the idea that all Christians should be receiving whatever they ask for after praying? Yeah, the Bible clearly teaches us that this is false. This is a very poor understanding of what the Bible teaches. I'll actually quote you the passage. So 1 John 5:14-15 says, and this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we desire of them. So here's what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that we pray in accordance with the will of God. So my response is, there's plenty of things we could ask God that's not in his will, or it's not currently in his will, and God's going to say no to us. So the response to this is simply that God's not going to give us that, because Scripture clearly teaches, I just quoted 1 John 5:14, that's not the way it works. Got called a cultist for this for the first time because of that idea. And now I have to think, well, you don't have to think that much, because that argument that was brought up is one of the lamest arguments. It's essentially like coat mining. You find stuff in the Bible and you go, why isn't this happening? Look at that. Jesus said this. And it's just out of context. All right, like, look at the context of it. Like, come on, bro. Do better. Hey, atheists, do better. Seriously. By the way, Valkin's been in my comments, and he just does this. Like, he's just comment spamming. Call me and talk to me. As a matter of fact, Velkin and Nanology, I'll have both of you guys on, and both of you can talk to me at the same time. The only problem of evil that Christians face, in my opinion, is natural evil. Jack, I agree with you on this, actually. I think the natural evil, and I agree with you, but let me finish your thing and I'll tell you. Like infants who were ill, or natural disasters like hurricanes, tsunamis, how do you explain this? I'm a Christian, by the way. I know you're a Christian. Jack, my response to that is however we want to understand it. However we want to understand it. The world in its fallen state gives fallen consequences, meaning the natural disasters we see, like the sort of stuff you're talking about, is a result of us living in a fallen world. The Bible teaches that the earth has been affected by sin. Again, Christians can articulate how this means what and X, Y, and Z. I think everybody can agree that there's some kind of an influence where the world is kind of in this chaotic state. The other thing is I think quite a bit of natural disasters could be of human doing. So it's interesting to me. Say like famines. Like you can have politically enforced famines. You can have people in countries that are that hoard all the wealth or whatever. It doesn't allow for people to have better jobs and better health and all that stuff. So people can be oppressing one another. That's a result of like moral corruptness. that gives force. So some of the natural stuff can be argued in regards to human decision making and human evil. So that's a part of it. But I do agree with you that I think the natural evil conversation is a good one. It's a strong one. Hey man, I you have this stuff like copied in your notes app, and then all you do is copy paste it places. That's why I'm not taking you seriously. Like, you're not sitting here typing this stuff up. You're literally copy pasting. Yeah, keep projecting, man. Still didn't call in. Gave you plenty of opportunities. Just to reassure you in your mind and heart, Christianity can be false and God still exists. So you quoting Bible passages, like the title to this stream is "What are the best reasons for atheism?" Not what are the reasons why you think Christianity is false. And you still haven't provided me one. You haven't even provided me half a reason, good reason, why atheism is true. Like, so, like, why should I take you seriously, man? You know, I have an issue with, oh man, at least atheists on like YouTube and stuff like that, standing on the shoulders or the backs or the reputations of other atheists who say are well-reasoned individuals. And there's a number of them that I actually like and respect. And then them having no substance they can give me. Like, this is not complicated. It's really like, if the title of this stream was, "What are the best reasons for Christianity?" I'm sure Christians would be in the chat saying things like, hey, the resurrection. Oh, the cosmological argument or something like that. Now, if I was role-playing as an atheist, I might say something like, well, hey, the cosmological argument doesn't get you to atheism. And maybe the resurrection does. And Christians might say things like, well, fulfilled prophecy and this and that, and they would actually give us reasons as to why they think Christianity is true. Now, I've asked a very similar question on this stream. What are the best reasons for atheism? And all I've heard is just nonsense. Don't Christians have the burden of proof? No. Depends who's making the claim. If I say God exists, then I'm taking on a burden of proof, and I can give you a couple of responses. And look, let's just play it that way. I'll take the burden of proof. I'll say, okay, God exists. And you say, okay, burden of proof's on you, Arthur. Show me why God exists. And I'll be like, okay, the cosmological argument, the teleological argument, the moral argument. Now, here's what you need to do. You can't just ignore those reasons. What you would have to do is defeat every single one of those reasons, the three I mentioned, and then construct in their place more reasons as to why your argument is true. Here's why. Because my three arguments could be false and God still exists. They're just bad arguments. So we still need, that atheist still needs to take on a certain amount of burden of proof to show why his or her position is correct. This is just proper debating. It's just proper conversation. It shouldn't be a point of contention. No, it's like, dude, right? Like I can lean over right now, right? I can lean over and grab you a book, and in that book, chapter 1 is The Presumption of Atheism, written by Anthony Flew, who argues that the theist has the burden of proof. I've underlined that, I've ate it up, I've summarized it, I've written a précis on it. Like, I understand the argument. I really do. But that's not what's going on. Like, guys are jumping in here and telling me, here's a bunch of Bible verses. Why is this stuff not true in the Christian's life? Imagine if my response was, cool, you've convinced me Christianity's false. I still believe God exists. Completely disarmed. Like, you can't show up to a conversation about atheism and theism and quote me Bible verses, because that's not what the conversation's about. Still haven't given me a good reason why atheism's true. Or maybe you might even say, like some have, hey, I'm not convinced by this argument, but I think this is a pretty decent argument. And I would probably, if it is a decent argument, say, man, yeah, that is a decent argument. And here's like 2 ways you can think about that. But again, the number of people who've jumped in here, who've trying to take the moral and intellectual high ground. This is what I don't like. This is my issue. Is I don't like these guys acting like they know better, they're smarter than. You aren't, and you don't know it. And what ends up happening is you fall back to, name calling and, you cultists and this and that. Like, come on, man. Like, you know what I mean? So, hey, thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it. Hit the like button. If it's your first time, hey, can we give a big hand and a shout out to all the first timers here? If it's your first time on my channel, how you doing? My name is Arthur. And I stream and talk to people and try to showcase proper conversation skills, I guess, and friendliness on the subject of Christianity and God's existence and all that stuff. If you're here, you're probably, you're either know what apologetics is, you're a Christian, or you know what, atheism is, and you're agnostic or an atheist or whatever like that. And you're more than welcome to be here. Like, we'd love to have you here. I want to keep having these conversations with you because I think they're important conversations. And so, yeah, why don't, if it's your first time here on this YouTube channel, just write the word first in the comment section. And I just want to welcome you. We want to acknowledge your presence here in our midst. And if you are comfortable, you can write first and right next to it, like whether you're a theist or an atheist. That would even be better. Like, I'd be like, or undecided or something like that. I don't know. You need to talk to Matt Dillahunty. Probably not. Matt Dillahunty doesn't seem like the kind of guy that I would enjoy having a conversation with. But I'm pretty sure my friend Eric Hernandez has had a conversation with Matt Dillahunty. Anybody can confirm this? I know he's had a debate with Aaron Raw. That's Eric. Eric's a sharp dude. Did he talk to Matt Dillahunty? I think he debated him. Yes, he debated him. 9 years ago. And the debate is on, does the soul exist? Yeah, but I probably... Hey, Josh, how you doing, man? Thanks for being here. Everybody say what's up to Josh. It's his first time here on our channel. Look at that. Thanks for being here. First great stream author, Dillahunty can't even stay on topic. Yeah, I just, again, I'm just talking in regards to like personality and character as to whether I would enjoy sitting down and talking to Matt Dillahunty, and I don't think I would. He's crass, he cusses. Like when the conversation for me, when I'm talking to someone, and I don't use profanity, when I'm talking to someone and they just like resort to profanity and all this stuff, you've lost the plot, my guy. You've lost the debate. If you fall back on that, you've lost it. Jerome, false, my friend. False. I love you a great deal. And I want people to understand this. He said, he said, I don't know how you do this consistently. By the way, given what I'm seeing today, you actually must have hated me last year. No. I loved you last year when we had these discussions and you were coming at me the way you were. Now, I might have been at points frustrated, which is fine. You know, I get frustrated with my kids, and my wife gets frustrated with me, and I get frustrated with her. That's fine. You can have a very good relationship with people and be frustrated with them. But I want people to understand this really well. People who are consistent on this channel know what's up. I am a big fan of the statement, we tell people because we love people. And in and of myself, I probably would have hated you. But with God, all things are possible. Now, listen, I've been a Christian long enough to know kind of the transformation that's happened in my life and the way I view people. And what I'm very self-aware. You know me well enough, but others might not. But I'm very self-aware to see if there's hate that rises up in my heart, then I take that to the Lord in prayer, and I sit there and I say, God, I have hate towards this person, and I don't want to have hate towards that person. And, you know, so I deal with it with God, but I don't. Like the guys that were on here that were like talking and arguing, I don't hate those guys. I love those guys. I want to see them come to know Jesus. But loving them doesn't mean that I'm going to sit here and allow them to somehow think that they got the better arguments than us, because they don't. And I want to expose that stuff. Right? And so I want to destroy lofty thoughts that bring themselves up before the Lord or against the Lord. And most of the time, I'd like to do that in just complete calmness and friendliness. But if, again, somebody's going to come at me sideways, we got Tony in the house. Somebody's going to come at me sideways. We got some intellectual maneuvering that we can do where we put them on the mat, tapping out. I don't think they have the intellectual high ground. They might have good arguments. And I'm okay admitting they have good arguments. That doesn't mean those good arguments don't have responses. Simple. So Josh says, found you through Ruslan. Now, I want to say something, Josh, and I think somebody just mentioned it, but you have a Juventus logo. I'm a huge Liverpool fan. There's a reason I'm wearing red today. And Jerome's going to say, I'm surprised that we got an hour and 26 minutes into the stream without Arthur mentioning that Liverpool in the last week utterly dominated and decimated Real Madrid and Manchester City. Here you go. About an hour and 26 minutes in. So I'm wearing red today. I had to wear my sweater. So I'm wearing red for that. But before I was a Liverpool fan, I was a Juventus fan. In the days of Alessandro Del Piero, David Trezeguet, Pavel Nedved, Juan Luigi Buffon, in those days. Just putting that out there. Another day after clearing the weeds and roadblocks to an awareness of God's presence in our lives. Amen, brother. Thank you. I say that, and look who comes through. Ladies and gentlemen.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
That is false. Man, how you are in the right place. Man, Josh, I wish that like you could have. We have a fantasy league that we play. We have a Premier League fantasy league that we play. Josh, jump on the Discord, man, if you're not on there, and we'll stay connected. 11 points clear because Walker can't defend consistently. Oh no, and that's the guy that gets the call up ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold for England. Come on. How about we, this is how this channel works for all the people whose first time it is, man. Sometimes we'll be talking like crazy philosophy and apologetic stuff and then like seamlessly transition into talking soccer and then seamlessly transition back into it and a bunch of host of other subjects. But how good was Virgil van Dijk's defending yesterday? Virgil van Dijk defended yesterday against Erling Haaland the way William Lane Craig defends against atheists. Meticulous, pointed, an impenetrable wall. Haaland couldn't get a touch on the ball. Couldn't get a touch on the ball. Nick says Apologia Center is wearing red because it highlights all that gray. Bro, I am the last person who wears something and thinks, how is this going to make different parts of my body look? I just like, that's the last thought in my mind, my friend. Last thought in my mind. I wake up and I go, am I going to put on the bald, bearded, and biblical hoodie? Am I going to put on the Mr. Apologetic hoodie? Or am I going to put on a Liverpool jersey or something else? And I wore red yesterday. And then I had my entire family. We should have taken a picture, but my entire family yesterday, I made them wear Liverpool jerseys. My 10-month-old daughter was wearing one. My 6-year-old was wearing one. My 8-year-old was wearing one. My 10-year-old was wearing one. My wife was wearing one. I was wearing one, man. We were all, after church, we got into our Liverpool kit, hung out with our people. No, that's not true. Or shorts, depends. Absolute masterclass. Now, here's the thing. We got to keep it going, right? Like, we have to beat Newcastle. We got to beat Everton. And then we'll talk about kind of what's going on. Okay, let me take a breath. Let me check my texts here. Whew. Any decent arguments? Folks, oh, Billy's in the house. Billy, what's going on, bro? Everybody say hello to Billy. Thanks for being here, Billy. Billy, how'd you end up here at this channel? Josh told us he came through Ruslan's channel. He saw me on Ruslan's channel. Big ups to Ruslan, by the way. Big ups to him. if or when you win the league, you won't find me here for a couple of weeks. Hey, it's okay. I can tolerate Arsenal fans. I think the original colors were white and blue stripes. Well, yeah, there's original colors, and then there's the colors that are. Everybody makes mistakes. I got y'all. So, hey, let me say this. I mean, since maybe a lot of you guys are Christians in here, what would be the argument that you as a Christian, or the arguments that you've heard as a Christian, that were the most challenging? I still think that divine hiddenness arguments are pretty strong. I think the one that Jerome introduced me to last year, the argument for divine hiddenness, but it's the way it goes is a non-reluctant non-believer. Like, how does that happen? And we reasoned through that and went through that. That was cool. Yeah, this is very interesting that people who claim that they have intellectual hierarchy, the higher ground intellectually, don't know how to distinguish between arguing against Christianity versus giving a reason for atheism. Divine hiddenness is one. Another one would be the lack of seeming justice in the world against the wicked. I think that falls under divine hiddenness. That could also fall under the problem of evil. Like, God's not doing something about evil. The best reason to be an atheist. Well, this is not an argument, but okay, I didn't necessarily say argument. I said, what are the best reasons? Sometimes in my mind, I think reasons ought to be arguments. But the best reason to be an atheist, in my opinion, is if a person doesn't see any purpose in the universe. So, this word purpose is very interesting, because you could essentially now believe that there's a God and still see a purpose or many purposes. That's also a possibility. They're just not kind of these objective sorts of things. Here's what I don't want people to walk away with, and Christians, I don't want you to walk away thinking that if somebody's an atheist, he's walking around or she's walking around just like a completely aimless, purposeless life. There's quite a bit of things people can find fulfillment and purpose in. Say their families and their children and their communities and, their nation. All sorts of stuff. As a matter of fact, I think quite a bit of people, the way whether they're religious or not, the way they view their nation and their commitment to their nation is what gives them purpose and identity. Quite a bit of people. So, and they can quibble over what objective means there, but I get what you're saying. Jack said, philosophically, it's impossible for God to not exist. He is by definition a necessary being. Correct. In the sense that, in logical argumentation, the way we define God is a necessary being. I did a little apologetics with my atheist friend the other day. The argument that made me struggle was how sending people to hell eternally is all loving or deserving of worship. So there's a couple of ways you can go about this, Kevin. Okay. Number one, you can go about this sort of, I would say, the C.S. Lewis sort of way. Essentially, God's not sending people there. Hell is the place that people get to go to because they don't want to be with God. Right? So people who don't want to be with God get to be in a place where God's not there, and that's hell. That's one way you can go about it. Another way I could go about it, and I think this person seems to be a more, I like the way they're arguing for it, is that would God be loving or deserving of worship if he's kind of eternally torturing people? Well, I'm not sure whether I would be okay with saying God is actively just torturing people. Like he's actively doing that. I just think it's a torturous existence to live away from God. So again, this is the C.S. Lewis sort of model. I think another way you can argue for it is by arguing for some kind of a form of annihilationism that our very good friend Nick Quint, who's I think he's still in here, you could argue for. And say, look, you could believe that people actually stop existing, let's just say. Again, I struggle to have these sorts of conversations with people who are atheists because I think they're biblical arguments. Whether hell is an eternal or not an eternal consequence is a biblical question. So we got to dig through the text of the Bible and say, does the Bible teach this or the other? When people bring that up, I go, okay, here are your options. We have these options. This is the way they're articulated. And you might gravitate towards one or the other depending on, your thinking. But I don't want to have that conversation without you actually believing the Bible ought to be trusted on anything. Now you can say, well, here are your claims. Like, okay, cool. If I were to say this, that people are annihilated and there isn't this constant torture that happens, would that make God, in your mind, would that make God deserving of worship? And if they were like, yes, I go, cool, let's take that view and run with it. So what you're going to end up doing is reverting back into actually having a conversation about God's existence. And so which is where you ought to be. Have that conversation there and take it kind of a step at a time and see where it goes. I think this is a good book. I think this is a good point. Yeah. Look, maybe it's okay for atheists to come at us and say there's an internal inconsistency in what you guys are saying. You're saying God is all loving, he's all good, he's this, he's that. But then you're saying he's doing all these things. So internally, within your own framework, within your own paradigm as a Christian, these things seem to be contradictory. And it's okay for somebody to say that, and then for the Christians to say, okay, so let me explain from our paradigm as to how we explain that situation. So I think that's what they're trying to do there. But I think you do have a point here as to like the gentleman earlier who was here, who's coming at me sideways, nanology, was telling me like, I don't like the way God does things. He goes against my standards. I have standards. And I'm like, where the heck do you get those standards from? Like, who cares about your standards? Congratulations. But he didn't want to call in for us to have that conversation. So I like doing this if I'm having a conversation with informed non-believer. I tend to present all the various options and then give my opinion. If someone wants to know, then I'll give it. Yeah, I think that's fine. It's a good way of going about it. Jerome, are those comments towards me or someone else? Arguably, divine hiddenness is always an extension of the problem of evil. Yes, these are connected. You can say that the expectations are unwarranted, but you can still argue for the non-existence using divine hiddenness. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, I know him. Man, almost 2 hours in. I got sort of like tired there. By the way, the link is dropped if anybody wants to call in. I should send you my chapters on Judaism and destruction. Ooh. And my work on Adam, Christ in Romans and 1 Corinthians. Be curious to get your thoughts. Send them. Send them. I guess this is good, Jerome. This is a good thing, I suppose. Thanks for being here, folks. Again, if it's your first time, Gavin's the man, you guys. Dr. Orland. But yeah, like if it's your first time, drop a comment, and the comment should be first. And let us know what's up, how you doing. I've really enjoyed this stream. I haven't had fun like that in a while. I guess the atheists make the stream fun. Thanks, atheists. Arthur, would you be interested in doing a layman philosophy 101 course or stream, or have you already did that in the past that you could put me to? So, I have done. So it was behind the paywall. I did an intro to philosophy and apologetics course. Man, I completely even forgot how much I charged for that, but I've done that. But here's one thing that I'm waiting for. This is partly why I haven't talked to e-courses, talked about e-courses, is YouTube is supposed to launch courses, YouTube courses. As a matter of fact, if you go to youtube.com/courses, there's courses up there. And meaning that we can post e-courses on YouTube, and it could be free, it could be paid. And yeah, so I've been waiting. We have a number of courses that we've done. I've done a couple, and then we have a lady, a young lady from our church, who's done the other one. She's brilliant. And we want to make that available for people. I haven't thought about pricing on those things because, I'm not live teaching. When I did the course, I was live teaching the course. So that's partly why, the pricing of it was different than it would be if somebody just wants the course. It's also a part of kind of our Patreon package. So if people support beyond a certain amount of money on Patreon, then they get the courses for free. They get access to the courses for free. So I don't know. Why don't you shoot me an email? Shoot me an email. info@apologiacenter.com. And we'll talk about that. I would love to see that too. Okay, so do you guys want me to do a course? So it takes a while, guys. It takes a while developing courses. So I would have to charge. Now, a philosophy 101 thing would be very different than the intro to, let's just say, the intro to philosophy and apologetics, or apologetics and philosophy. And that was how many lessons is that? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 lessons. But let me know if you guys are interested. Look, if I get a group of people, if I get enough people meaning like anywhere from 6 to 10 people who are like, we'd like to take this course with you, then I can like divide my time and see how much I want to charge people, and then we'll do a course. I'll do a course over Zoom, and teach something that people are interested in. So I would love to do that, as a matter of fact, because that's, I think, where I'm in the zone. I'm at my best. I've also had conversations with actual PhD holding scholars to record courses for us that we can present, like an introduction to epistemology. This is hilarious. Are you planning to do a review breakdown, a roundtable gospels done by Jordan Peterson's crew from Exodus Roundtable? I wasn't planning on it, maybe. But yeah, I guess I would say that to anybody who's watching the stream right now, guys. If you're interested in me doing some e-courses and you're interested in taking it and paying for it, shoot me an email. And if I get, if I get like 6-7 people, then we can pull the trigger on that. I'll announce it. We'll promote it. I just don't want to like go and promote something and plan for it and create the PowerPoints and do all the reading and all that stuff, and then like not have anybody like show up. I want to invest my time well. I have multiple jobs. I have a family. I have kids. So all that stuff. So I want to remember, man, do I have the promo for that stuff? I want to remember how much we charged for those live classes. I think we might have charged like $150 for like an 8 to 10 week class. And we met every week, which I think is pretty reasonable. So the class I taught, I essentially took a form of it in Bible college, and I paid about $400 a unit, I think. So it was like a $2,400, like some, yeah. So what I do is, if I'm doing a class like that, I like to compare it to, like, if you were to take it at a college and say, here's what you would pay for it at a college. And we're going to reduce that because obviously we're not giving you, credits and all that stuff. But it's like way less. But the cool thing is, if we get a lot of students, then I can charge less. Like if we get a bunch of students, I can definitely charge less because, well, it works for everybody. Get a lot of students, I get a decent compensation, people pay less. It's awesome. It works for everybody. Like I don't mind doing that at all. But If you build it, we will come. Wow, man. So some of you guys are newer to my channel. That I've done that with some classes. I don't know, and I haven't promoted it much. I don't know. So I'm pretty sure you guys would want it to be live instead of a. This is partly why I can't wait until the YouTube courses thing gets launched, because I think it'd be really beneficial for my channel and the way we do ministry. Yeah, I saw a post on the Gospels. Yeah. Hey, take care, Jack. Thanks for being here, man. God bless. So Tony, Jimmy, ALC, you got, and anybody else who's interested in that stuff, shoot me an email or a message or something like, whatever. Some of you guys have my Instagram and phone number and Facebook and all that stuff. So shoot me a message and say, hey, we'd be willing to take this class. Like, even if you have suggestions, like, it'd be really nice if you could teach a class on this subject. And if I think I can work that in, then we'll develop it. Live would be more beneficial than pre-recorded. Yeah, so here's the thing. I like recording things because then you can use it. Like, some people couldn't join live. So this is why I did it. I did a live course and people paid for the live. And then there was people who were like, we can't come live, but we want to learn this information. I said, well, here's we can pre-record them. And the way I did it is I would essentially give the lecture, and then we would have a time of Q&A, and I would cut out the Q&A time and then just give them the lectures, and then they paid less because, again, the timing didn't work out for them. And so it works both ways, I guess. It helps with the editing if I just give a straight kind of lecture, go through the PowerPoint slides, give my lecture, give my talk, and then editing wise, I can just shorten it and then we're good. But I will definitely reconsider those things. I think if there's an interest, I'm down to do it, you guys. I'm down to pick up some books, dive into the subject, and develop a course. Thank you guys for that. Thought on Jesus apparently saying that you have to give up everything in the same way that Heaven's Gate and other cults say that you do. I'm thinking about what was said early in the stream. Well, I don't know what Heaven's Gate is as a cult, at least not by that name. So I would just say it's context specific. So for the rich guy, Jesus says, go sell everything you have, come and follow me. And the guy doesn't do it because Jesus puts his finger on the very thing that he loves more than God, which is his possession. It literally tells us that he can't do it because he's wealthy, because he's a rich man. So that's one. There's no command that is a universal command on Christians giving up everything. How do we know this? Well, look at number one, there's no command like that. Number two, those commands even made were never taken to be universal by the church at all. Like in the early church, they're never said, hey, oh, you're a Christian? Oh, you got to give up everything you have. It's, as a matter of fact, one of my favorite kind of examples of something like this is found in Acts chapter 5. And put it up. And you will see it exactly in the context of people giving stuff up. And the way that the immediate followers of Jesus thought about this stuff. So check it out. Acts 5. But a man named Ananias with his wife Sapphira sold, notice this, sold a piece of property. Okay, so that's what they sold. And with his wife's knowledge, he kept back for himself some of the proceeds and brought only part of it and laid it at the apostles' feet. Peter said, pay attention here. Peter said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit and to keep back for yourself part of the proceeds of the land? Now you could read this and go, wait, is Peter getting upset at this guy for not giving everything? But look what Peter says. While it remained unsold, did it not remain your own? Like it's yours, this personal property. The response to this, of course it did. And after it was sold, was it not at your disposal? Meaning you could do whatever you wanted with the money. So why is it that you have contrived this deed in your heart? So what's the deed that he's contrived? And he says, you have not lied to man, but to God. That's a really cool parallel, you guys, between you've lied to the Holy Spirit and you've lied to God, meaning he's seeing the Holy Spirit as God. Now he falls down and dies, right? And then same thing with the wife. The wife comes in, not knowing what happened. Peter said to her, tell me whether you, check this out. Peter says, tell me whether you sold the land for so much. And she said, yes, for so much. So she lies as well. But Peter said, how is it that you have agreed together to test the Spirit of the Lord, the Holy Spirit, God? And so here's what they had done. They had sold the land, kept part of it, brought the other part, and given it as though that's the entire amount. And Peter is saying, why are you presenting it like it's not? Why are you presenting it as though you're giving all of it when you're giving some of it? You could have just said, I'm giving some of it. You could have actually said, I'm giving none of it. You could have not sold it, because before it was sold, was it not yours? After it was sold, was it not yours to do whatever you wanted with it? So very clearly, in Peter's mind, people have the rights to their own property and they can do whatever they want with it. They can sell it and give all of it away. They can keep it. They can sell it and give part of it away. What Peter is against is Christians lying and kind of presenting a case that's not actually the case. And so therefore trying to show themselves to be more generous than they actually are. That's what's going on in this situation. Some really cool nuggets in there too about God and the Trinity. So yes, that's the disadvantage of it being pre-recorded and not being live. Yeah. Wow. I like that you guys do thinking for me and planning and creativity. Formulate an outline. Amen, because iron sharpens iron. Yeah, I guess though. Yeah. So, here's the funny thing about that text about hating your family to love Jesus and stuff like that, is that Jesus says, yes, even yourself. You must deny, he says, father, mother, brother, sister, children, and even yourself to be my disciple. So is Jesus teaching self-hate? Clearly not, because what Jesus is teaching is a prioritization in the Christian's life. Who comes first? Is it your parents? Is it your spouse? Is it your children? Is it yourself? or is it Jesus? And so again, those are, I think, those are issues that I had when I was a brand new believer. That verse specifically about Jesus telling me I got to hate my father and mother. And when it was explained to me in context that this is a priority issue, right? It's not actually going out and hating your parents. I mean, that's dumb considering Jesus says, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, honor your father and mother. Like, there's like so much I can bring into that conversation, that it's talking about the way we prioritize Jesus above everything else in our lives. He comes first. He is the filter in which we live the rest of our life through. This is what I said when you made that comment. You know, like, oh, you must have hated me. No, because I live my life through that kind of a filtration, through the filtration of Jesus, of no, I got to love those in front of me. Now, if it was just by myself and for myself, yeah, there's plenty of people I would never interact with, never be friends with, and I wouldn't like them very much. You know, like, it goes back to the Rocky IV speech that Rocky gives at the end of the movie. He says, when I came here is in Russia, he says, I realized that you guys didn't like me much, and maybe I didn't like you much either. So essentially, that would be my attitude. But there's always this gigantic but. Jesus has transformed and changed our hearts as Christians, and we live our lives through him. Right? We live our lives through him. That's why I use language of filtration. I like that quite a bit. I use that about Jesus. I use it about the Bible. Like, the way you see the world, I've done this actually to like youth groups. I'll hold up the Bible in front of me and say, you view the world through the Bible. You got to have a biblical worldview. That it filters everything. If you want to have an authentically Christian worldview, you got to view it through the Bible. So there's quite a bit of Christians that don't have a proper biblical worldview. Since we've pivoted in questioning, where is the line between trusting the early church for compiling the canon versus interpreting it? Well, the difference is, I'm trying to understand your question. Can you rephrase it, Josh? So are you saying that because they compiled the canon, therefore their interpretation is true? That's what I'm hearing. So if that's what you're saying, I would say, very simply put, look at the disagreements they had amongst themselves on their interpretations. So it's not me me disagreeing necessarily, but contemporaries are disagreeing with one another on interpretations of passages who are involved in those, say, the compilation. We trusted the early church compilation, yet we don't trust their interpretation. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say we don't trust their interpretation. Some of their interpretation is good. Some of their interpretation has different, say, reasons behind it, and it might be good and applicable for the way they're using it in the conversations they're having. Some of it might just be bad and wrong. But again, I would say look at them disagreeing with each other, which gives us grounds to say, well, hey, I think they're wrong, or I think one of them is right. You can go anywhere with that. Let's see. Arthur, what do you think about some lower tier atheists? Some lower tier atheists claiming that atheism isn't a worldview. Look, I would actually agree with them. I don't know whether you can get an entire worldview just by saying you're an atheist. Because you can have disagreements amongst said atheists. It might help more if somebody say something like, oh, I'm a naturalist, or I'm a skeptic, or I'm a physicalist. Like, those might give you some worldview answers. the atheism as a worldview, if you want to use it like that, all it tells me is that you don't think there's a God. But I don't know how much information it actually tells me about a bunch of other beliefs that are important to worldviews. Does that make sense? So I'm sympathetic towards that, and I think Christians at times kind of fall victim towards claiming that atheism is a worldview in and of itself. And I don't think it is, unless they define what they mean by it. You know. Also, I think about you not liking me. Hate is me telling. Because thinking backwards, I think that I was being very brave at times, and I didn't think that I was. I've watched a couple of old streams. Jerome, I never got that sense from you. I always got a sense of kind of intellectual curiosity and honesty, and that's partly why I enjoyed speaking with you. But you know what my buddy said, and I wonder if I can find this. Weren't most of the interpretive issues flushed out during the ecumenical councils? No, I mean they were flushed out if they had to do with, say primary doctrines. But you can go read their homilies and sermons, as far as we have them, and you will see them disagreeing on interpretations. Let me see if I can pull this up. I don't know what timestamp to it is. Who here watched the Alex O'Connor's conversation with Ayaan Hirsi Ali?
How are you?
So I haven't seen it. Okay, he has chapters here. Maybe. How is life different? Was Ion's conversion just political? What was the biggest mistake of new atheism? How does Ion respond to troubling Bible verses? The therapeutic effect of Christianity responding to Richard Dawkins. Are atheists or Christians more open-minded? Can you choose to believe in God? So she said in this debate, here's what I'm looking for. She said in the debate, I want to apologize to Christian apologists for essentially not taking their work seriously. Anybody know what the timestamp to that is?
There will have been a time.
Trying to find this because I think that's interesting. Again, I haven't watched this, so. We'll see. This is why I need a research team. And if you guys want to volunteer to my research team, just like find stuff and send them. We actually have something on Discord for this. Like if you guys go to Discord and if you go to Discord, there is a, there you go, there's something there. There's media research and it says video reaction recommendations. If you guys want me to react to videos, post them there and let me know, like, hey, here's, timestamp and all that stuff. That would be so helpful to me, you guys. I'm not the best when it comes to actually doing the research and trying to find content that we can continue making, and it's worthwhile my kind of thoughts and stuff. So if you guys want to like volunteer to be a research team for me, there it is on Discord. Love to. All the links for everything that we do, Discord, Patreon, Venmo, everything is in the description box. But Jerome, can you drop the Discord link? It's all fine, Jimmy. Just, yeah, that's like a lot easier to have it in the Discord because it's there, it's saved. I can look at it, I can sift it, but make sure you guys jump on Discord. Can't find it. I know, I'm watching the video right now. I'm trying to find the timestamp when she says that. Yeah, I can't find it. This is why I need you guys to do the research. Well, hey guys, I want to. I gotta go. I have to go because I got stuff that needs to get done. Lots of stuff that needs to get done. Hey, and I'll post stuff about this. I'll send out an email tomorrow. It's Given Tuesday. If you guys are considering giving on a monthly basis, one-time basis, or whatever like that, give to Apologia Center. We'd really appreciate it. Consider like giving us $5-10 a month. If we get a bunch of people giving that much, we'll be fully funded. Everything will be going well. So if you want to do one-time givings, you can Zelle us, you can Venmo us, and all that stuff. Since quite a bit of people are doing that, and I think this is a good time to do that. Yeah, consider that. Consider partnering with Apologia Center. We're trying to get fully funded, you guys. Our budget currently is essentially like $72,000 is what we need to raise to fund this entire thing. We are about like essentially 30-something thousand raised for our annual budget, and that's covering essentially what I need to support my family, what we pay our Armenia guy for him to do all the stuff and post and do book clubs and all sorts of stuff. So that's just a pitch. I'll send the email out tomorrow for folks. And you can also jump on Patreon and be a free patron and get access to stuff too. So, appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the kind of feedback you guys gave about the e-courses and all that stuff. I really appreciate it. If you get, please just email me, info@apologiacenter.com, and I will go from there. Take care. God bless you guys. And I will see you guys, I'm hoping tomorrow, but we'll try to drop some videos and all that stuff by then. Lots of stuff to be done. Lots of stuff to do. God bless you guys. Love you guys. Keep your focus and attention on Jesus. Take care.